Hey y'all, welcome to Let's Talk About It with Mingo. Today we are going to have a conversation with Alexia Doumbouya, who is a powerhouse of a woman. She is a doula who owns the organization Coco Life, which does birth justice and advocacy in the Black maternal health care space. Welcome to the show, Lexi. So before we get into Black maternal health care, statistics, numbers, and all of that good stuff, tell us who you are as a person. Just Lexi.
Just Lexi. Okay. Well, Lexi is an Aliquippa native, number one.
Aliquippa.
That's right. Western PA. The people try to mess around with it, okay, but I'm originally from Western PA, Aliquippa. It's about 25 minutes outside of Pittsburgh. Very much so known for NFL pros like Ty Law, Sean Gilbert, Darrell Revis, and then me.
And then you,
famous people. I am a lover of God. I love my family. I'm big on community building. I think that's one of the best things about being on this journey. And I've always kind of leaned into this aspect of being my sister's keeper. So those are some things about me. I mean, there's fun stuff too. I love to travel.
Okay.
Love to travel. I have been on 6 of the 7 continents.
Okay.
Across this globe. Right. Yes. Won't get to Antarctica.
Yeah, I always tell people that's,
it's off limits.
Yeah, you can't.
No. But outside of that, I love that. I am a foodie. So I do enjoy, dabbling, not cooking, but I love eating.
Okay, yes. What's your favorite food?
Chicken Alfredo.
And
pizza.
And pizza.
Chicken Alfredo. Not a very sophisticated palate.
So what do you think should be included in chicken? Because everybody has different, preferences for what goes in chicken Alfredo and what doesn't go in chicken Alfredo. What is the perfect recipe for chicken Alfredo?
So I'm going to tell you one thing about my chicken Alfredo is I like my chicken fried. Like I like the chicken fried, sliced, like almost like chicken tenders a little bit.
I've never.
I know, but it's amazing. Okay. And so there used to be this old restaurant. It was a New Orleans kind of cuisine restaurant called Copeland's.
Okay.
They closed and they had the best Alfredo. So the sauce itself, though, we got to have the cream sauce, got to have the garlic and things going through it. Love the cheeses, Parmesan, and all of that. But that, to me, makes the biggest piece of it, too, is having that fried chicken.
I have to try that. I've never had fried chicken in my chicken.
Let me know, because since I don't cook, but I will eat.
Oh, you will? Okay, I'll let you know. When I find it, I'm going to let you know. I'm going to let you know. So you are a doula. Yes. And can you explain that? Because I'm not sure that everyone knows, just on surface level, when they hear the word doula, what it means.
100%. Even as more common as we're hearing the word doula, still doesn't mean that everyone fully understands. And most times what I'm finding, what they do understand is kind of limited, which is fine because it gives us a chance to educate. So a doula, well, the word, let's start there. The word itself is a Greek word. It means female servant. And so that even in itself, especially in Black and Indigenous American communities, not necessarily a word that we subscribe to. Historically, for us, it may have been called birth attendant or birth keeper, auntie, cousin, sister, grandma, I mean, you name it. But the goal is to be able to support that mom through the entire perinatal period, which is pregnancy, labor and delivery, and then postpartum. Up to about 2 years postpartum, we are able to provide some level of support. And the big part of it, what we always like to make sure we relay, is that it's a non-medical position. So and we have a ton of doulas that are medical in nature in terms of being an RN or things like that. But when we are doula-ing, that is a non-medical position. So I always like to define a doula using the term scope. So the scope of a doula is to provide support, be a compassionate companion to help organize, prepare, and educate.
Thank you for giving us the scope of what it means to be a doula. And we talked about the history, right? You mentioned history. Historically, doulas are not a position or a role that Black women have been privy to experience. Could you talk about that role in terms of social justice, how it creates social justice for Black women, and how it provides access and advocacy for women, because other cultures are probably more familiar and they more than likely have more of the financial ability to acquire a doula. So could you share with us? How?
Yeah. So a couple things that come to mind too is because of the historical context of birth work in general, from the granny midwives of the Deep South and all across this country through the transatlantic slave trade through today, we have seen birth work be an enormous part of our Black culture. What has shifted for us is what society has decided to deem necessary for Black birthing people and Black moms in general, which is why we see this enormous shift in terms of the data and why things are not faring well for us as Black people in this country. And so what it has looked like is back in the day, we'll say, doulas and midwives, that was the original birthing team. There were no doctors, if you will, and nurses being able to provide this care. And because of the success of the granny midwives and thus the doulas supporting them, many slave masters especially would utilize those services because we were good at what we did. As time went on, we were too good at what we did. And so we saw...
Always creates an issue.
And so we saw things come into play that totally negatively impacted and caused adverse effects. And so what those things include are things like the Flexner Report, which was a report that was generated by a group of physicians out of Europe. But essentially what it started doing was impacting even our HBCUs that provided medical assistance and support and education. So what it said was that Black people, Black organizations, institutions do not provide the same level or better care as the white organizations. And so we start to see things shift. And so wherever we were excelling, there was something that came in to shift that. With the granny midwives, it was introducing this concept of nursing. But you had to go through nursing their way. And so it's what we refer to as like the over-medicalization of birth. And so today, what has happened is that it's like, oh, having a doula became like this fantasy and associated with success and prosperity and financial well-being.
Right.
But as a community doula, which is the work that I do, one, the rates of disparities in this care affect all across the spectrum for Black women, no matter what your socioeconomic standing may be. And so our goal is to make sure that we know that doulas are accessible. And how we do that is just by doing exactly what we're doing today, sharing about it, letting people know that, guess what? We're not new to this. We're true to this.
Right.
This is not something, right. That's not something just rich people have or just white folks have. No, we have always been doing this work.
The over-medicalization of birth. That's interesting. I've never considered that. And when I think of it, I just immediately went to the beginning of time. And there were no doctors there. And there were years before there was ever a medical professional to be able to help the birthing process. And so that's really profound to me to even think of it that way. And also seeing how that's just another way in which to exclude us. In which to see when we excel, it's like they're too good at this. And so now we have to change the game. We have to change the requirements in order to keep them in their place.
And one of the things that you highlighted about that, so that was the medical experiences, right? So that impacted nurses and the granny midwives and so midwifery profession. We're seeing that circle back around with this doula space now. So, right. So today, the doula is a recognized profession in terms of we know that we exist. We've seen them operate. But because not just lay people, but even persons in the medical space and maternal health don't really know what doulas do. And I'm using air quotes because they do. But there's a certain lens that we bring to this space as advocates. And so the reason why I get involved as an advocate is because if we don't speak up, if we are not involved in how the doula profession is being shaped in this country, the exact same thing that happened to the granny midwives and others will happen to this doula space. And it will be shaped to look a certain way that does not include us or consider us.
History just repeats itself.
It repeats itself in different ways.
So you're also a mother.
Yes.
So yes, tell us about your children.
Okay, I got 2 junior interns.
I like that.
I call them because they get put to work.
Yes.
And they work me, so there they are. But Camille, our oldest, is 14, and MJ is 6. So they just turned 14 and 6. in the last few months. And Camille is actually the reason for Cocoa Life and for me becoming a doula, really. And I think that how I used to tell the story, I was always concerned that it would impact her from a place of like negativity or thinking like, oh man, I did this to my mom. But the two of us together have been able to shape this into an amazing testimony of like what can happen when you go through, what it means to have a community to support you, and then even how God will shift you in the work that you were doing to something I had absolutely no idea I would be doing.
So you, gave some insight to Camille, your experience with Camille. Could you share with me what your experience was as a first-time mother with her?
Oh, so the situation with Camille, this is like story time, so soap opera style.
I love me a good story.
That situation was interesting. So I was actually married at the time to her father, her biological father. But things were not well. Okay. It wasn't well. And so that was turning into me not being well mentally. And what I just cast out as like, oh, it's just me being pregnant, it's just hormonal, it'll be okay when she gets here, never shifted. And so the mental health challenges that I had, the inability to connect, feeling isolated, having these intrusive thoughts became a reality when she got here, and they did not go away quickly. And so I did not want to talk about it with anyone, because if you talk about it with a therapist, I was always concerned about family surveillance. Like, are they going to take my child? And while I never thought about harming her, I did always question, am I enough? Should I be here? Would she be better off with someone else? And so it wasn't until probably about a year postpartum after having her that a friend of mine came to visit, who happens to be a social worker now. And she was like, are you okay? And it wasn't because I was like sitting rocking in a corner somewhere. I was doing my Lexi thing. Mm-hmm. I was doing all the things and being attentive. But she was like, something just seemed off. And she was like, I really think you need to talk to somebody. And I did. I talked to a professional. But then I also started talking to my village and community. And I'm hearing these stories, joy and pain, like quite honestly. But I'm like, where do we go as Black people for this? And so I won't say it didn't exist, but I couldn't really easily access it. And so that became kind of the launch for Cocoa Life, and where we kind of got the idea, and we started really wanting to have mom groups. Then I learned about this role of a doula, and then things just kind of took off from there. And what was really interesting about the doula role, a friend of mine, her cousin was a doula. And so she's sharing with me. So I started down that path, and literally a year later is when Pastor Waller was talking about this doula ministry. And I was like, oh, all right, God, this is a perfect fit.
Right. And you've been rocking it. You've been rocking the doula ministry. You absolutely have. Something that you said that sticks out to me is that you had a friend visit you and say something is off. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a mother, but I have friends who are mothers, and they've shared this shift between being a childless woman and coming into motherhood. And what I hear repeated often is that there is something that changes when you become a mom. And oftentimes we want to focus on the joy of motherhood, the happy moments, the goo-goos and the gagas. But the reality is that mothers who absolutely love their children, who wanted to be mothers, who or were caught by surprise but are actually happy to be in that space, they really struggle.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle. And it's not one we really create space for to talk about, but that's what we want to do. In the Nigerian community, there's an Igbo word called Omugwo, and it means mothering the mother. And so, again, we go back to that fact that this is not new. And that mothering the mother means that they're constantly supporting the mom. They're recognizing that there's a change emotionally, physically, and that someone needs to be there to care for her. Kind of coupled with this superwoman syndrome, weathering, all of the things that happen to Black women, I think we have been pushed under that. So then you slap the title of mom on, and it's kind of like, what? You got a problem not really connecting with your baby? How? How could you? And I'm like, so who about to tell that? But I'm like, I share my story because I want people to know that you're not a bad mom. No, it doesn't always just click with motherhood. It doesn't instantly mean that you got it. but you got it. And as long as you got a community with you, you can walk together.
And that's so funny because I always hear people say, if you become a mom, it'll just click. Like, it's just this maternal instinct that you have that just kind of kicks in. And so for a woman where it doesn't kick in, then it starts to feel like I'm defective. There's something wrong with me because it just didn't naturally hit. Like in these 9 months, I didn't just become this motherly figure. And we were on a panel together a few years ago. And I don't know if you remember, but there was a young lady who talked about grief in terms of becoming a mom. And she shared that she grieved the life that she had before because she was so used to being a superwoman before, but there was more flexibility and freedom that she had. And so now as a wife and a mother, she felt like she lost the person that she was before. And it wasn't that she didn't love her child. It was just that I'm in this new phase and it requires more of me for this beautiful child than I was prepared for. And I'm not ready for the shift, but also the stigmatization that people placed on her. And I think that especially for young moms, older generations sometimes make them feel like, because you may share a complaint or you may be stressed or you may be tired, you're not a good mom. When the reality is that women in older generations were struggling.
Struggling
immensely. And it's like, how do we as a village, you talked about the village, how do we as a village not only care about the child, but mother the mother? Because I'm guilty of it sometimes, right? You'll see, it's you run straight to the baby. But do we see the moms? So how do we make sure that moms are not invisible in the postpartum experience?
Well, what we're having, again, I can't echo that enough having this conversation, but it's like practical tips, if you will, that I always encourage folks to share is see the mom. When she's pregnant, you see this giant belly, you see it growing. And so it's easy to be like, I know I got to be careful with her. I have to treat her with kid gloves and I have to nurture her. Once that belly goes away, then it's like, okay, we forget about the carrier, the person, and we start focusing on what they were carrying. And it's like, no, it just means your work doubled as a village. Now you got a baby and a mom. And so in this space, oftentimes, another birth worker that I work with often says, while everyone's holding the baby, who's holding the mother? And so as a community, what that looks like is if they give you permission to come and visit once this baby gets home, please prepare to come and do work. Prepare to do work before. One of my favorite things to tell moms and dads to do is like, you can have your baby showers. That's perfectly fine. But host nesting parties. Like, get the folks over there. We love a reason to crack.
Right.
And while she can't have a sip, I can. And I can help put away some diapers and build some cribs. So nesting parties. Nesting parties. And on the postpartum side, like, come with meals. Again, I don't cook, but let me tell you, I'm gonna Uber eat you some stuff. And I got other doulas and persons that I work with that do meal prep. Okay. So I'll get meals for my moms and dads so that they have it so they don't have to worry. So it's like all the things that you would do for someone if they were, got hurt or got sick. And so they needed a little extra care. That's the caregiving part of being a doula. And so many people already do that work. So I go back to what I said before about, like, I've always been my sister's keeper.
Right.
When I was younger and, teen pregnancy was rampant, with my friends, I was going to appointments with them. Wow. I was taking them to school because,
So this has always been a part of who you were without name, a title.
Nope. Didn't need it. Wow. Didn't need the name or title. So as people start to unpack what their role can be, it's like, if you're going to the market, pick them some stuff up too. Those sorts of things, like little things that make a difference.
The community, right? The whole idea of
the village.
Village, right? It takes.
We love quoting it.
That's the most popular African.
I'm gonna tell you what, and people say it all the time. There was this viral video going around. This was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and the woman was like, "I always hear them say it takes a village. Like, do you just call? Is there a number you call? Do they just show up?" Like, how do we
where is this village? Right.
Because everybody's like, I didn't want to bother you. Bother me. Especially with some help. And to your point, though, we will sometimes, as Black women, like, I got it. Because it's impressed upon us. Like, what do you mean you need help? What do you mean you need a doula? Yes, I do.
We carry the load.
No, I'm not. We're not doing that anymore. So that's what we have to proclaim.
Absolutely. So you're a doula, you're a mom, you're a wife. Can you share the role that a husband or a partner plays in the pregnancy journey and experience, in the postpartum journey and experience, and how men are active in the advocacy and the work that you're doing?
I'm gonna tell you, my men's is, I get them very involved. My dad's, I love when they already kind of come with that. Okay. And it was funny because Musa, how he tells the story of us meeting and kind of our journey. When people ask him, like, oh, how many kids you got now? He's like, oh, I got 2. One is 14. Like, I didn't know you had a 14-year-old daughter. He always says, well, I have one that I met at 4, because that's how old Camille was when I met him. And then MJ we had later on. And with MJ, so he had a ready-made kid with Camille. Right. Like, she was ready. Like, dads, when they get that age, hands off, they're good. These little people, he didn't know what to do, but he was eager to learn. And when I tell you, in that hospital room, though, he was my best advocate. I knew about doulas, and my cousin was actually my doula at the time. But when she wasn't there, he was there. He was speaking up. And so the role of a father is so important, but it's also important for us to make sure that they have the space to do it in. What that looks like in the hospital for me as a doula is I'm paying attention to these clinicians, if they're inviting dad into the conversation, if they're asking him questions, or are they leaving him out? Because what is going to happen, and has happened, when we get into that birthing space and something pivots and this dad is getting anxious because he doesn't know what's going on, now he's looked upon as a threat. And it's like, wait, especially for our Black dads. Yeah. And so what our goal needs to be is to make sure that that dad has this space. And I've worked with some amazing ones, been with some amazing ones that they ask the questions, they're, just as engaged. And I'm always like, hey, what do you expect? What do you want your birthing and postpartum experience to be too? So dads are doing amazing things. Even in Philadelphia, there's some great organizations, like one that we work with, Daddy University. Yes. And we got doulos. That's another thing. Okay. Dads are out here getting, the training as a doula. And while the doulos may not always be in the birthing space, they're the big support for the dad. So some of my doulas and doulos that we work together in serving families.
And I love that, because it changes the false narrative that Black men are not actively involved in the lives of their partners. Yep. Pre-birth and postpartum.
So, and the CDC put out a report, I think it was 2022, and it was a study on dads. And at the end of that report, one of the things it said was that the Black dads were the most engaged fathers. And so to that point, if we don't know this information, we'll subscribe to that narrative. And one of the doulos that we work with always says is, when you look at a Black dad and maybe he's not helping as much during postpartum, he's not as engaged with the baby, we call him a deadbeat. But he may just not know what his role was supposed to be or how he's supposed to show up. And he's thinking like, oh, mom's supposed to have this, so let me step off.
Oh, that's a good point. I had the opportunity to see you in action. Had the opportunity to see you in action as a doula. I became a doula that day. Yes. December 9th. Right? 2024. It was a day that changed our lives. I feel like we are forever bonded.
We are.
My niecey Pooh, Dakota Ray Stuckey, was born, and we were in Abington Hospital. And I was so honored that they invited me to be in that space. But I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I signed up for. And so it was crazy because we were there for a long time. And it got to a point where my best friend Fatima, she did so well.
She was amazing.
And she was just phenomenal. And you, Dexter, and I were in that room, and we would go. It's definitely not like Grey's Anatomy.
No.
Right?
Not like the shows.
Right. It was nothing like that. But we were like cheering her on as she was pushing and having conversations and looking at each other, trying to figure things out. But one thing that I noticed about you were that you were attentive to every person in the room. I had a little medical I was so caught up in trying to help her push. I'm not breathing, right? And so at the point, I don't even recall almost fainting. The next thing I remember is looking up, and you and Dex are like right there. But the fact that you were attentive to every person in the room, and when the nurses and doctors came in, they knew who you were, but you were able to navigate the space and have the conversations with each and every person. And that was my first time in the space, but I could not imagine someone being in that experience without you being alone. And there was a very scary moment in which, they started moving rapidly. And we didn't know what was going on. And I was looking at Dexter. Dexter was looking at me. We were looking at you. And the way you just handled it so seamlessly was amazing. And so to be able to know in real time, like, you are amazing, but the work that you're doing is necessary. It was just profound to see. And I would not have personally survived that was amazing.
You did so good. You really did. I mean, listen, we all have
back on our certification.
You did.
Afterwards.
Listen, you are, because there's nothing that can prepare you for those moments. And thank you so much for that feedback. But one of the things that I'm always so thankful, and same thing, honor of people allowing me in that space. And that meant you had to share space too. And so us being able, what started to happen and what you started feeling was our collective energy, right? That collective spirit coming together. We knew we were there for a reason. We were trusting God and this blessing that was coming. And so if I come in and I'm disheveled and I'm kind of all over the place, you're going to feel it. And so it's so important that we bring our best selves here. It doesn't mean we don't have things going on, but it absolutely means that is my focus right then. That is my focus from the time I say yes to a family. And I'm grateful to my family for letting me do it. MJ just told me last week, he was like, I want to be a doula. I was like, okay, guy.
Okay, MJ.
Okay, guy. He also wants to be Spider-Man, so here we go. But nevertheless,
I be hanging from the
hospital. Right. But I think that's the piece that I love the most about it, is like getting a chance to have those experiences and see. And I used to be so hard on myself, imposter syndrome. It happens. And I'm no different, but I thank God for continuing to keep my mind kind of stayed in that direction. But for the longest time, I was like, man, how can I be in this space? How can I do this? This isn't my background. I pivoted here because you have so many birth workers that are like third and fourth generation birth workers. Now, I don't know a ton about my mom's side of history, but I know for my dad, there's midwives that were in our family that helped to deliver him. And so I think that's the piece that for all of us, if we probably did a little digging, there's some birth workers in all of our family. You go back far enough. But what is absolutely ingrained in us is compassion as people. And so we can all step up and do that.
Compassion. What is something that you would say to a Black mother? Something that you feel is necessary for her to hear, necessary for her to internalize and to walk with each and every day?
You're enough. You are enough. You are graced for this. And there will be times when you think you're not. But those are the times when you will get on your knees and pray, or you will lift up your hands to the heaven. You will cry your tears. They will be real tears. You will laugh your laughs, and they will be real laughs. But what you're going to remember about this journey is that you did not allow yourself to suffocate in it. And I think that's the piece that I want so many families to know, and so many moms to know, especially Black moms to know, is that it's not going to seem like enough time, but especially if you have to be off work, but you're going to enjoy those moments and know that you have that support.
And Lexi, my final question is, what is a topic that you think we are avoiding in general that we need to discuss?
So in general, so not just in maternal health, but all things.
All things.
Yeah. I think a topic that we are avoiding, and my mind keeps going to healthcare though in general. I mean, to me, I'm always thinking about the three major systems that this country runs on: economics, education, and healthcare. And so I think one of the things we're not talking enough about is the intersectionality of those three systems. And I'm going to speak particularly from the Black lens, which is that when it's disrupted in one area, it is mismanaged and the disparities are any other. And so a quick example, because I'm sorry, I got to go to maternal health, but a quick example is that like Black babies are, the data shows that are most commonly born premature. I was a preemie. But the one thing that we don't talk about is then, okay, so then when it's time for them to go to school, what is the trajectory? How are we preparing families when that happens through when it's time for them to transition into the educational system? And so that's something I think we need to talk more about, is how, yes, we will talk individually about the Black experience in those three, but what does it look like shaped together? Like, let's take an example and see where it is woven through that our experiences are so vastly different.
Lex, you are a powerhouse. I am so happy that you came to have this conversation with us. People need to know where to find you after this. And so if someone is interested in becoming a doula, if there is a mother or a family who knows a baby is coming and saying, after hearing her, I know you need a doula, where can we find you?
Well, one, thank you for bringing that up, because the one thing I also say to the community is when they are having these showers and stuff like that, pay for a doula. Like moms and families get a doula fund, like, you know how they do a diaper fund, because yes, while there can be an expense, so community doula work, we at Cocoa Life, we're always trying to find grants and funding to support it, but the reality is we do a lot of it unpaid, and so put that on your registry. And then, but go to cocolife.black. That is the website. That's our Instagram. It literally is cocolife.black. And you can find us all there. You can learn about doula work, how to become a doula. And in states like Pennsylvania, you can actually get paid through Medicaid for providing doula services. You can help us advocate for getting other MCOs and that too. So Cocoa Life.
There are so many roles that you can play in the whole Black maternal health.
Oh, so many. And if you are like, I don't know if I want to be a doula, we always are welcome of our mom ambassadors. And so our mom ambassadors are folks that are like, I don't know about this doula thing or this midwife thing, but I love serving families and moms, and I care about Black maternal health.
Thank you so much, Lexi. Thank you. I hope that people reach out to you. I would like to see every Black woman having a doula, like where it comes to a point where it's just secondhand nature to say, hey, who's your doula? And someone will be able to share that. I thank you for all of the work that you are doing in this space. Is so necessary because you are giving women voice in a place where they don't always feel like they have a voice, but it is a life or death situation. Yep. So, I thank you for being my doula trainer.
Thank you.
And I thank you for coming here and having this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining Lexi and I on a necessary conversation about the Black maternal health space. It is such a powerful discussion that we need to continue having to ensure that not only are we thinking about the child, but we make sure that their mother is not invisible. As Lexi stated, Black mothers, you are enough. We thank you for how you tirelessly work to support and raise and nurture your children, and know that we are always standing behind you, advocating for you, and praying. Thank you. We hope to see you in the next conversation.